Hi, I'm Bart Hansen. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the instructions in the video description.
It's a 1-2 hand.
Okay.
It's a $400 cap.
Okay.
I've got 300. Villain 1 has 500.
Okay.
Covered me with 500. And Villain 2 has, she's short, she has 150.
Okay.
So, action starts. There's a couple of limpers, and Villain 1 opens in mid-position 2 to $15. I played with him a lot. He's a solid, very thoughtful player. He's snug, but he's not real nitty.
Okay.
So I know he's got a hand. I put him on at least 9s, 10s, ace, king, something like that,
Okay.
at least.
Okay.
I can't tell anybody this bet sizing is pretty standard for that game. So it folds to me. I'm in the cutoff, and I've got ace of hearts, jack of clubs.
Okay.
I don't see any reason to raise. I got 5 people behind me with the button and the blinds and 2 limpers, so I just call.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I mean, you could 3-bet here and drive out some of the limpers as well. In these low stakes games, you get into some really awkward spots with stacked pot ratio, and I feel like the little bit that you might gain by 3-betting, for people that usually play at 1-2, they're going to make mistakes post flop. I'm talking about from your perspective. I'm not saying you personally, but if you don't have a ton of experience playing 3-bet pots, you're not giving up that much by like taking some of the worst playable hands and calling. But it does promote the fact that you get it heads up against the limpers. But I'm okay with the call.
Yeah, and I didn't think that the 5 behind me were all going to fold out if I tried to isolate the pre-flop raiser. So I called, and we get one more caller, which is victim villain number 2. And she calls, so we go 3 ways.
And where did she call from?
She called from under the gun.
Okay, so she was one of the limpers. All right, so one limper calls. Okay.
Right, she was one of the limpers, and blinds and button, everybody else folded.
Okay.
So the flop comes, which I think is a pretty good flop for me. It's 6 of hearts, jack of spades, 9 of hearts.
Okay.
So I flop top pair, top kicker, and a backdoor flush draw.
Right.
So I'm kind of liking the flop. It doesn't hurt me much, and it helps me out. But then something interesting happens. Villain 2, who is under the gun, donk leads for $45 into a pot of 50.
Okay.
So she's in for $60 out of a $150 stack already.
Okay.
So I don't think she has a lot of awareness of SPR. I've seen players in this game call a $50 bet with $60 and keep themselves $10 behind. So
right.
But I just think it's interesting that she donk leads for a near pot size bet. So Villain 1 calls, and again I call, not seeing any reason to either fold or raise. I just go ahead and call.
Okay.
That
so
sound reasonable?
MP2 calls and you call.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So the turn comes a brick. It's 5 of clubs. 5 of clubs, which doesn't really bring anything in except maybe if somebody's playing 7-8, then that draw comes in.
Yeah, it brings in 7. It brings in 7-8. I mean, but it doesn't appear like the way that this hand has gone down, that it's that's going to be likely. Some people are actually saying in the chat that if you think the guy is so tight, you could actually fold pre-flop. I mean, I can sometimes get on board with that, but the pot now is about, what, 180-ish, something like that? 170, 180?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 185.
Okay.
So I can't put anybody on 7-8. I think that Villain 2, I figured she either had a set or 2 pair or a big draw.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think that a big draw would be 7-8. I figured she's probably got 2 pair or a set, and that's why she let out. But when this 5 of clubs come on the turn, she checks.
Okay.
So I don't know what that means. And then the villain checks.
Okay.
And so this is where I think I kind of lost control of the hand and made a couple of mistakes. The pot's, like I said, about 185, and I took both of them checking to be weakness.
Uh-huh.
So I decided to go for some value.
Sure.
And I bet 65, a third pot bet.
Okay.
The problem with that in retrospect is that only leaves me 175, and if I get a caller or two, that's like about a half pot size bet left for the river, which seems a little awkward to me.
Yeah, but you don't have, I mean, depending on what the river comes, though, you can just have it check back. I mean, you're making a value/protection bet. I wouldn't expect the pre-flop raiser to be checking all that much with like a hand that's better than you or have it played out this way. I mean, like if the pre-flop raiser has aces, kings, queens, you're going to see a raise on the flop or you're going to see a bet on the turn. I think you've got the best hand here. It's fine. I mean, you can figure out what you're going to do on the river, too. I think your sizing's fine, too. So you bet 65.
Yep. And the victim under the gun victim villain folds, and villain number one calls.
All right, so MP2 calls. So that's the original raiser. So now the pot is 315, and how much do you have left in your stack? About 175?
Yeah, I got 175 left.
Okay.
So the river is a 2 of diamonds, another total brick. And villain one then checks to me.
Okay.
So I got a half-size pot bet, and I don't know what the best move is to do here. I know what I did.
Well, let's think this out here. What would I do in this spot? So, again, for the podcast, you've got a couple limpers. Guy opens from MP2 to 15. You call him the cutoff with Ace Jack offsuit. One of the limpers calls. Board comes out 6 Jack 9. The limper leads for 45. The preflop raiser calls Jack 9, Jack 6 9 2 hearts, and you have the Ace of Hearts. So now 185 to the turn. The turn's a 5 of clubs. It brings in 7-8. The UTG person checks. The preflop raiser checks. You bet 65. UTG folds, and the preflop raiser calls. And now the pot is 315. The river is an offsuit deuce. And now the preflop raiser checks. You've got 175 left. I gotta be honest with you. I mean, value in live poker. I can't see how you don't have the best hand here. It's just a question of how much would you want to size. I mean, you've sized it so that you have, just over a half pot size bet. If you think that this guy is going to call because you think, there's possibility that you might have busted a flush draw, I could see shoving. I could also see sizing down a little bit and betting 100 or 125, but I definitely think that you should go for some value here. I just can't imagine how you don't have the best hand. And remember, in live poker, sometimes you have to value own yourself quite a bit. If you know what that means, is sometimes you actually have to value bet the worst hand, because if you're always betting when you're called, you have the best hand, you are not making enough thin value bets, really, because you're always good when you value bet. So I would bet here. Bill?
Well, good.
You with us? Okay.
That's glad to hear. I'm glad to hear that, because that's exactly what I did.
Okay.
I shoved.
You shoved. Okay. Here are shoves. Yeah.
And he calls, and he's got pocket aces.
Pocket aces?
Yeah. Yeah. Which I could never, I've got an ace, so I'm blocking aces.
Right.
And I don't know why he would play them so passively unless he was trapping me.
Yeah.
I don't understand his play at all. But I'm glad I didn't really screw it up. I was afraid that I really screwed up the thing, but I guess I played it okay.
No, I mean, here's the thing. Like, usually at 1-2, you're not going to see a whole lot of people, check over pairs all that much. I mean, he does have an overpair that's not necessarily vulnerable, but normally from what I've seen when I play at low stakes, and I've been doing a lot of commentating on these things for, years and years and years, people will usually bet their hands. This is one of the times when, okay, you value own yourself, but again, if you want to increase your win rate, especially at the small stakes of no limit, and this is really interesting, Bill, because really the rake is so small in this game, you actually have the luxury of playing a small stakes live game that's beatable. Like, you can't play 1-2 in LA and beat the game at like $100 buy-in with a $5 flat drop. That game is unbeatable. Here, you're paying $15 a day, right, to play in the game, so you could squeak out $20, $25 an hour as like a top win rate depending on the stacks, and then maybe even more so if the stacks got deeper. But you have to be able to value own yourself on the river. I mean, I talk about sometimes it's hard to do the equation out, but if you're betting and when you're called you're good 90% of the time, then you're checking back way too much. It should be something like, I don't know, 60 to 65%, because you lose obviously when you value own yourself too. You've got to sometimes bet the worst hand for value. This is specifically for value. So I don't really have a problem with the way that you played that at all.
Well, good. Thanks. I appreciate that, because the way I played it is basically a result of what I've been reading on your site and learning from you. So So,
No,
sometimes
absolutely.
you win, sometimes you learn.
Yeah, and like I said, I
Great.
just,
Well, thanks a lot, Bart.
I think I think you played it fine. Again, there's a debate about whether or not you should call pre-flop, folding ace jack off. I mean, I guess I can get on board with it. It seems a little bit tight from the cutoff. If this guy had opened from early position and you were like UTG1, maybe I'd get on board with it. But I appreciate the call. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA200. Click on the link right there.